Next, we're going to talk about the anatomical significance of the pectoralis major and how it's involved in many different forces as they cross through the body. The pectoralis major technically has 3 or 4 attachments depending on which anatomy manual you preface with. We have attachments along the clavicle, along the sternum, and the 6th and 7th ribs, with sometimes fibers integrating into the rectus abdominis area. As you can see, this is overlapped with our rectus abdominis line. And so that can be our 4 areas if you include those fibers of the rectus abdominis. Then all of those fibers come together and insert into the intertubercular groove of the humerus on the lateral side. Now, this particular muscle is in a cross pattern for a lot of different forces that travel through the body. For example, if you have a neck reversal going on, you will see that scar tissue pulling up to the head for a variety of injuries will actually go through this line of force and down into the pelvis. You can develop scar tissue all along this sternal area in order to slow down that force and try and create balance between the head and the pelvis. Another thing that you will see, particularly with this line that I have drawn across the sternum, is that when you have ulnar force traveling from one arm coming up into the scapula, going across the body and down into the other arm, you will see that sometimes the body will develop scar tissue as this transfers across the sternum in order to create balance between the 2 opposing shoulders and arms. So when we go to work with the pectoralis major, we will be resourcing all of the fibers along the clavicle in the clavicle protocol. We will be doing specific work with the sternum and showing you how to work along these areas and where scar tissue forms, as well as when we do the 5th rib anchoring protocol, where we want to see change occur from the rectus abdominis insertion sites on that 5th rib, and as they tuck and go underneath this pectoralis major where the serratus anterior and pec minor is. So there's a lot of places that you can build scar tissue in an effort to try and stop forces. You will typically see scar tissue form on the sternum when you have several forces going on at the same time, that being lateral transfers and neck reversals. You will develop scar tissue in this central region. The areas that we want to work are going to actually be on top of the sternum itself, because there are times that the scar tissue will actually grow across from one side to the other, as well as all of the cartilage formation and insertion areas of the ribs as they come into that sternum. That is also an area where scar tissue likes to form. So the pectoralis major is really a free way of force trying to slow down how scar tissue is forming and pulling the body from side to side or up and down. This structure right here reminds me a lot of how the sacrum does the same thing, where it tries to manage force traveling from the lower half of the body to the upper half of the body.